Hawkeye is another Marvel show we've gotten on Disney Plus. We've had a bunch of them this year. We've had WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, and then now Hawkeye. I believe that's all of them. And I have been keeping up with them for anyone who was wondering why I hadn't talked about those yet. I only somewhat recently have decided, like, okay, I'll try to take on a television review. So I apologize just right up front if this review is kind of all over the place and kind of messy. This is really like very new territory for me, so I'm gonna try my best, but there's a good chance this will probably not turn out very well. Nonetheless, I did watch all 6 episodes of Hawkeye that premiered between November 24th and December 22nd on Disney Plus. The show was created by Jonathan Ikla. It stars Jeremy Renner, Haley Steinfeld, Vera Farmiga, a bunch of other people. There's even some surprise, I guess, cameos in the show that I won't mention. I'll keep this spoiler free. But those are definitely like the big names that stand out to me up front. The show really does, at least from my interpretation, revolve around Haley Steinfeld's character, whose name is Kate Bishop. And that is somewhat of a nitpick I have with the title. I really don't think this is all about Hawkeye. I don't see him being the central focus of this series. I really see it being Kate. So, I mean, maybe you could have called it Hawkeye and Bishop, or, like sort of like the Falcon and Winter Soldier. It could have gone a similar route like that. But whatever. I mean, I certainly wouldn't like take away points, or it definitely doesn't affect my overall grade for the show. But that is just something that I noticed, I guess. The show really does mainly revolve around Kate Bishop, who witnessed the 2012 Battle of New York, the one that happens in Avengers. And she sees Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, during this battle. And as much as this was an inspiration for her, it was also a very tragic event as it took away her father. Fast forward roughly 8 years in the future, the series takes place 1 year after the events of Endgame. Kate has become quite the archer herself, and she is seen on TV by Clint, disguising herself as Ronin, who, for those of you who don't know, was the persona that Clint took on during the blip where, his family was taken away, and he became Ronin and started doing the things that he did, and essentially he got into lots of trouble. And Kate taking on this persona as Ronin in the public really starts to draw the eye of a lot of enemies that Clint had made in the past. Clint and Kate bump into each other. They kind of start to work together. She becomes somewhat of a protege to Clint, and now we have a show. Now, there are some things I can think of right off the bat with this show that really set it apart from all the other MCU shows we've had on Disney+. One of them is just that we get new characters, specifically Kate Bishop. We've never seen her in anything else MCU related. She's an entirely new character to this universe of films and TV shows. And another thing that really does make this show unique from the other MCU shows is that it takes place during Christmas time. This really does play a big part in the show, as, it's around that time and Clint is unable to get home to his family and to his wife, Linda Cardellini, who we see ever so often talking on the phone to him. It really is a big part of the show, the fact that it's set during the Christmas season. Even some of the score has some Christmas songs mixed into it, but with a sort of Marvel flair put onto it, which I shouldn't like, because I don't really like a lot of Christmas music, but I thought it actually worked very well here. A big thing that this series really depends on is the chemistry between Clint Barton and Kate Bishop, since they are the two main characters. They are working together, trying to figure all this out. And so a lot of the show's success really does depend on how well they work together. And, I mean, far and away, this is one of the best parts of the show, is these two characters and the bond that is formed between them. It starts off a little bit stereotypical, like they don't get along that well at first. There's some arguing, bickering, blah, blah, blah. There's definitely a formula with it initially. But, I mean, just the performances behind these characters are so good that I'm really able to overlook some of the generic qualities to this partnership. Haley Steinfeld is awesome as Kate Bishop. She brings so much charisma and energy to this character. I've been a big fan of hers ever since I saw Edge of 17. I think she's a very good actress, and she's proven herself to be very good in various types of roles. Like, she can go from True Grit to Pitch Perfect 2 to Edge of 17 to Bumblebee and then to Hawkeye, and she's good in all of it. And once again here, I think she's really good. And I definitely get a new respect for Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton or Hawkeye in this series. I have always, or for the most part, liked him. In the first Avengers movie, I really didn't give a crap about him. But over time, especially since Age of Ultron, getting to see his family and seeing where he comes from, I've grown to like him a lot as this character, seeing everything that he's gone through. Where the show does start to fall a little bit flat for me is in its focus and handling of the characters behind the Tracksuit Mafia organization, which was one of the groups that Clint fought as Ronin. And they're the people that are sort of coming back at him now and trying to find him and stuff. I just found it difficult to really feel invested with a lot of these characters and their motivations. With the exception of Alaqua Cox, who is the commander of this group, her character was easily the most fleshed out, the most developed character out of this whole group. I thought the performance was very good, and getting to see her backstory and seeing where she was coming from and some of the things that happened to her in her past and in her childhood definitely made me feel for her a bit. So with the exception to her, the rest of the group I just didn't care for. I wasn't compelled by a lot of what was happening with them. And a couple other characters that I didn't really find that interesting in the show were Tony Dalton as Jack and Vera Farmiga as Eleanor Bishop, who's Kate's mother, and Tony plays Eleanor's fiance. It's sort of hinted that Jack is behind some of this stuff that the Tracksuit Mafia is doing, and I thought that they were setting this up very well, actually, and Kate was starting to get very suspicious of him and really starting to confront him at certain moments, and I really liked what they were doing there, the dynamic between Kate and Jack. But then at a certain point, the series just kind of stops focusing on that. I don't really know why. Maybe it was just to put more focus on Maya and everything that was happening with other members of that group, or a couple other people that come into the show. I won't say who they are, but I guess that's justifiable. I do just kind of wish they put a little bit more focus on that and developed that a little bit more. Vera Farmiga is fine in the show. I just really didn't like her character. Her character is not very well written, I think, and she's really stabs Kate in the back several times. I just thought the writing for her character left a lot to be desired. Thankfully, she's not a big part of the show. She's sort of a minor role. Overall, though, I think Hawkeye is one of the better MCU shows we've gotten on Disney+. I've at least kind of enjoyed each one of these shows that we've gotten so far when looking at the seasons as a whole. But I definitely think that this is one of the strongest ones we've gotten to date. It's got two very good lead characters with great chemistry and a very interesting premise that calls back to some of Clint's previous actions he's been involved with. It is kind of slow to start. I would say around episode 3, maybe the end of episode 2 was when I really started to get into it and started to like it a lot. But all in all, I certainly enjoyed this show, and I'll give Hawkeye a B+. Here's my rating system if anyone is curious. All of my grades lately have been B+ or A-. I don't know. That's just how it's been, I guess. If you've seen Hawkeye, I would love to know what your thoughts are, or do you have a favorite episode out of the show? Thank you to anyone who has been subscribed to me and who's watched any of my videos. I appreciate all the support very much, and peace out.